Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
That is our party being ruined. I had big plans for tonight. We had balloons, just let all the air out of them, popped a few. The parade has been cancelled. I'm afraid the Whitecaps are not Western Conference champions. Disappointing afternoon. We'll try and make the most of it. Got a lot of champagne here. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. Caviar's going to go to waste. All because of a Georgian. Anyway. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. If you're listening to this on the podcast, this is episode 224. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Joe Deasy.
And I think we might be joined on the phone by our good old friend, Zachary Meisenheimer.
Yeah, I'm here, Michael.
You'll help cheer us up, I'm sure.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But we do have Joe on the show. He didn't bring the luck of the Irish as we had hoped. He's making his podcast debut, his radio show debut. And we want to make him feel welcome. I planned to bring a potato along, but I didn't have any left in the fridge. But I do have a special theme for him, so we'll just play that for you now, Joe.
saw him on the corner and I watched him walk away. Caught up to him later and I thought of things to say. Asked him what his name was and he answered with a smile. His name was Joe. His name was Joe. His name was Joe. His name was Joe.
See, a nice song for him. Upbeat from the start.
I'm flattered, really.
Yeah.
Joe, you know that's the only reason he had you on the show is because he has a song for you, right?
I'll take what I can get, Zach.
I did actually tell him that beforehand, yeah. Now, of course, it's going to make Anna and Gideon wonder why we didn't have any songs for them, so I'm going to have to try and get some for them now. Gideon's not an easy name to try and get a song for him, though.
I think it is a biblical name, so you might have to look for some gospel music.
Yeah.
So probably something there.
My surname's
I'll look into
Hill.
it.
Yeah, you're our man for that. So I guess let's not stall any longer. We're going to have Zach on for the first two parts of tonight's show. He decided he just couldn't face being in the studio and just wanted to head home. Can't blame him. That was not a fantastic performance today. Just before we delve too much into it, how are you all feeling just now? Robbo and the players said afterwards that they were disappointed. What's your feelings on it?
Yeah, I agree. It's a little disappointing. It's just you expected them to, but you were facing a team that was desperate as well. So you expect a little bit of fight from them as well, from San Jose. But overall disappointed. You wanted them to clinch this at home, and you don't have to deal with anything next week.
Zach, how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it's hard not to agree with the fact that it was very, very disappointing. I got to see a few of the people after, and I think Rob was probably more disappointed. I think he's a little bit angry at some of the chances or half chances that were wasted in terms of not putting the game away.
Yeah.
And probably the goal as well. Well, the goal conceded, but I've watched some of the game back since getting home.
Oh,
and
poor you.
Well, I to be honest, it felt a little bit like the first half wasn't actually terrible. The first half wasn't too bad, actually. It felt like.
Not a lot happened.
Not a lot happened, but it felt like it felt like they got it felt like they felt like, hey, we got the job done.
Well, I have to admit, I felt that way as well.
Yeah, and then to start the second half, they sort of, there's a couple of times there where they needed to be selfish and they weren't, or they needed to be unselfish and they weren't, in terms of the chances that they had on the counter, and they didn't have the attitude that they needed to at the right time, and they squandered those chances, and they looked like they just sat back too much as well, hoping just that, oh yeah, we'll get one on the counter. And so it was a very disappointing second half on the night as a whole. Also very 2017 Whitecaps, like very poor on set pieces. It felt like.
Yeah, I mean, how are you feeling after that one, Joe?
Well, the thing was, like you said, that first half, I was taking some notes during the game. Hurtado's haircut is really a pressing issue for the Whitecaps right now. But apart from that, I wrote down.
If that's the main issue you have from the game, this could be a long night.
You see, the thing was, I think Robbo had a game plan, and it's been pretty much similar to what he's been wanting for the last, I'd say, 2 months, playing on the counter. And we were playing on the counter. We're generating chances, well, not really chances, but the final pass was really lacking. If they finished one or two of those like we've seen them do before, it would really be a different game. The problem was when they were breaking forward, when they were outnumbering the defenders, they were just making terrible decisions, like Chani a couple of times, Gazal, Davies came on, and he did very well defensively, but offensively, like that time he dribbled through a couple of players. It made me think that he's kind of part of a FIFA generation where you want to beat 4 or 5 players, then knock it in the top corner, when a pass was probably a better option at that point.
Let's start then by looking at the lineup, and there was a couple of changes put in there. Heading into this one, I think the team was pretty much set. The only questions we really had was, would it be Eisted or Marinovic? Would it be De Jong or Harvey? And is Shea going to be the guy that starts on the left? Pretty much we thought it was going to be Shea. Let's look at the left back one first of all. I thought it would be Harvey, but the way that De Jong has played, I think he has merited a start, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, we said this on previous shows that it feels like his form is better than Harvey's right now, and he offers more going forward. And so at home, you want to get more out of your fullbacks. You want to get them more forward. And I think also in general, it's hard not to see Marcel as better, being able to provide overall better service into the box from an attacking sense. And so,
in theory,
yes, I thought you might bring that up. Yeah, tonight was a bit hit and miss, but I think potentially provides more offense, and has been proven to be defensively responsible this season.
And the thing is like we were mentioning during the game, Michael, that it confuses the opponents when they get two guys with blonde with ponytails.
Yes.
And I think that can be an advantage as well. Speaking of hair, like Hurtado's hair.
I mean, I didn't know if I was watching the Whitecaps or the UBC women's team out there at times.
You mean man bun, right?
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't. It was ponytails.
Kind of ponytails, man bun kind of thing. There's something like flopping around there.
I would personally shave them all. But
then we wouldn't have free-flowing hair like free-flowing football. That's the philosophy behind that kind of stuff.
That kind of matches.
Yeah,
I'd shave everyone's head just as punishment for not getting the job done today. Goalkeeper, a little bit of a shock in some ways. Just in the, it was a ballsy move, I think, putting Marinovic in there. And again, he's a guy. He played well in the last game that he played. Obviously, he didn't play the last game against New York. He was away, but he played well the last time he played. Kept a clean sheet. Was away. Ousted came in. I just thought he would go with Ousted, but now that he hasn't, is this Marinovic's spot to lose? Is he now the starting goalkeeper?
I don't see how you can go back now to Ousted. I personally think it's a mistake to go to Marinovic at this time, only because Ousted really hasn't, against New York, yeah, he let in the 3 goals, but none of them were his fault. New York had some great shots. One was a deflection, and a couple of them. The first one, maybe he went down a little bit too quickly, but other than that, it was really, he was let down by his people playing in front of him. I don't think he was the issue. Now that you've gone to Marinovic, you have to stick with Marinovic. There's no going back to Ousted, because I don't know how strong he'll be to go back in the goal pipes.
Once you go all black, you never go back.
Yeah.
I think that's what the saying is.
I was having this conversation the other day with someone when I got the sense that there might be a decision to be made. If you go with Stefan, I think David's done, mentally.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go back. Whereas if you played David today and things were a bit off, and I would agree with you, Steve, that the Dead Bull game, you can't hang on him in any way, shape, or form. It was a different system, not a fully first choice team. It's really hard to put that on him. And so now that you haven't gone with him in this game, I think, and with all the stuff the pending stuff in the off season that's hanging over this with his contract and whatever, I really think that he is not going to be in a great place emotionally or mentally in terms of being able to be called on again. Which, if you played David, I don't think Stefan would have been
affected.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have been affected. And so if David got injured or got sent off, or was terrible tonight, or terrible tonight and or next week in Portland, then you have options.
Yeah.
Now it feels like, yes, Stefan or bust, and maybe that'll be fine. And I know he made it one really, really high quality save tonight and a couple other decent ones, but it feels weird it even just feels weird for morale. I don't know. That's just an outside perspective. I'm not saying people have said anything, but it just feels weird.
Yeah, and Michael, you were mentioning you noticed that when he was on the bench that he was kind of checked out, it seemed.
Yeah, his body language on the bench, I looked at one point, and his head was not facing where the action was, which was in the Whitecaps box at the time.
Yeah.
And he was sitting for a lot of the second half with kind of his fist in his cheek, and his whole body language was basically, I don't want to be here.
Yeah. Joe, what did you see? Alstead is fine, but what did you see in Marinovic's play today that you liked?
I think the reason this is such a big deal right now is because it's been so stable for so stable for so long with Ousted in goal. Since he came in a couple of years ago, there was a short little rotation between him and I think it was Knighton at the time, but it's been so stable for a couple of seasons, and he was fantastic for last couple of seasons. A few mistakes, he's starting to creep into his game, but now that there's an actual backup goalie in Marinovic who wants to come and challenge for that position, probably a younger model than Ousted on a lot less money than Ousted is on.
Yeah.
Thinking salary wise, I think I looked it up. I think he's on almost 6 times as much as Marinovic is
but
on.
I think that's temporary. I think till next year. I think that
will go up, but still be nowhere near David's, who is on for an increase as well.
Yeah. So could this be a long term thing? Looking to next season, try and as sad as it is, try and move fair to say an MLS club legend for the club, moving him on.
Well, looking at the starting lineup, Joe, do you feel this is our playoff 11? I know Bolaños was suspended, but do you think that was the 11 that Robbo wants to go with?
I think it was very close. The only position I would really look at would be that left wing spot with Breck-Shea in there. Possibly Bolaños when he comes in, but Breck-Shea does something that Bolaños doesn't do. He defends, he comes back. Sometimes his marking is questionable. He lets a couple of players run by him, but he defends a little bit more than Bolaños. His technical ability isn't there. Got a bit more pace. It's kind of a toss-up between those two. Teixeira defends very well, and Davies, we saw today, there's good sides and bad sides. Ever since the Gold Cup, I think it was Zach last week mentioned that since the Gold Cup, his performances really have dropped off.
And the thing is, Breck has a little bit of more grit as well than Bolaños, and that you might need that in the playoffs. Playoffs, you get a little bit more tighter and everything when they play.
But he can't finish chances.
No, well, he has finished chances here and there.
Yeah, but today he didn't,
No.
and I think that was the
I think Montero was the one that didn't finish as
Yeah.
many chances. He's the one that was robbed a couple times by Tarbell.
Well, if we look at the goal quickly, first of all, I mean, it was Montero's hustle that really set it up.
Yeah.
Then a great run forward from Teixeira Zach, and then
He reversed it.
out to Nerwinski.
Yeah.
Brilliant ball in from Nerwinski. Reina, back of the net, 1-0. Happy days, popping the corks.
Thought it was a game winner.
Yeah, I said to Zach, let's just go home now. He only scores game winners. That's the match over. I was not right.
I felt the same. Jordy scores, and you're like, okay, we have a clean sheet. The game's over. We're done. It's done. It was a really nice, team goal, hardworking goal. You have to give a lot of credit to the Colombian for winning the ball, winning the throw in, and taking the throw in extremely quickly.
Yeah, not enough credit to call him by his name though.
I think. Yeah, no. I think he has a huge role to play in next week's game. I think he does really well in Portland. But
yeah.
And then to Teixeira, to Teixeira, the timing of the kind of reverse pass.
Yeah.
Knowing that Jake's busting a gut to get there was quality. And then even something as simple for Jordy as finishing it with his left as opposed to trying to reshape his body to put it in with his right just shows his class and abilities.
That pass from Teixeira to Nerwinski is one of those passes you can only do on a turf field because of the way that the ball was spinning.
Yeah.
He kind of chopped at it so that when the ball would glide for a little bit and then kind of stop dead right where Nerwinski's path ran into. It was such an impressive ball. If that was on a grass field, I know we rag on the turf a lot, but the turf got us a goal today pretty much. That through ball would have been very different on grass if it was sliding.
Joe, I would say it was our knowledge of playing on the turf.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see that benefited. But, I mean, it was 1-0 at half-time. Then the second half, they just had so many
breakouts. Yeah.
It's like there was a 4-on-3, there was a 4-on-4, there was a 3-on-2. The problem seemed to be Reina kept looking for Montero, and then neither of them could get a shot off, or they waited too long to get a shot off, and there was other options which they didn't seem to look at or play the ball into.
And I thought their shots were okay, but Tarbell, like I said before, Tarbell just kept getting down. He kept getting his hand to it, kept knocking it away. He was really the reason, I think.
I think we should give him some credit as well, because he's come in for David Bingham. But I spoke to him actually after the game. I'm going to do a piece on him on AFTN this coming week, because it's a very interesting story that he's got, because he went to play with Reno, and then they've called him back, and then he got a chance just to come in when they were in a bad run of form, and then he, like Marinovic, he's taken it, and he's now their starting goalkeeper.
Yeah, because Bingham was there for a long time.
Yeah. But they didn't take those chances, and Robbo was asked afterwards, and we'll hear this when we play the audio, did you get the feeling that it wasn't going to be your day, or that just things weren't going to come off? And when you're winning 1-0, I don't think you can feel it's not going to be your day. But he admitted he was worried and concerned because he's seen this before. The team don't take their chances, Joe, and then the opposition from nowhere basically just get back into it. Although I say from nowhere, but the San Jose coach says he doesn't feel it was against the run of play. And when you actually look at the stats, which we will shortly, they had a lot of shots, but not taking those chances killed us basically. Yeah,
the game suited the Whitecaps a lot better after the goal, funnily enough. They were able to, San Jose had to come onto them a lot more, so that's what created those counter-attacking opportunities. But like you said, you have to question the decision making. Like if this was the game plan which we assume it is, because of the play we've seen in the last couple of months, that we sit back and we counter, then surely we've worked on the counter attack. And if we've worked on the counter attack, why is the decision making so questionable? Like those were training ground stuff. You get the ball on the halfway line and you run at a couple of defenders, kind of thing, right? So
despite those chances that we had, the second half, I mean, when you look down at the possession intervals, which I get obsessed with, apart from the last 5 minutes when the Caps went crazy trying to win it, it was all San Jose, and it was like 59 basically to 41 possession. The shots as well, it was like 19 for San Jose, 14 for the Caps, although the Caps did get 6 on target. Just disappointing, because for me, that's the biggest disappointment. Not so much that it's a draw, and it's one of those games where a draw feels like a loss, but Zach, the disappointment for me is that we had the chances to kill that game off, and now we're heading in at Portland, and we might have blown our chance at even finishing in the first two and getting a first round bye.
Yeah, it was infuriating. Like it was one of those games where they have to win, and then they can have a nice game in Portland. They can know that they don't have to play the midweek cup, play-in game, whatever language you want to use to describe that first playoff game, and they really blew it. Like I totally agree with you. It was a draw that felt like a loss, and it's a huge missed opportunity. And you look at what else happened in the other games today. Portland and Seattle both with 4-0 smashings. Like
we'll come to all this in part two.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting ahead of things. But yeah, no, very, very, very disappointing that they couldn't clinch first in the West.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's some of our early thoughts on the match. I'm going to hear now from both head coaches. First of all, we're going to hear from Chris Leitch, the interim head coach of San Jose, who's done well since taking over from Dominic Kinnear. Who knows, this could be another kind of Smitzer case in Seattle, and he might do well enough to actually earn himself the role. So we'll hear from him, and then we'll hear from Robbo.
Yeah, it was a big goal for us. We definitely needed that. It had big implications for sure. But, I don't think it was against the run of play. I think for large stretches of the game, we showed some really good patience, and we just lacked kind of that final run, that final pass. And on that particular play, it was good to see that come off. I think it was Wanda with the assist and Vako with the goal. Really good play there to finally break through an otherwise very disciplined Vancouver team.
You've really struggled on the road this year, but to come up with a point when it really, really mattered, what does that say about the character of your team?
I think it says a lot. First and foremost, these guys, they kind of knew what was on the line tonight, I feel like. And they didn't run away from it. They ran right to it, took on the challenge head on, and really dug in. It was a good result, good hard-fought result here in a tough place to play against, obviously, the best team in the West as it stands now.
The West's been so tight this year. Up until that goal, it looked like you were maybe going to be in trouble next week. Now you head into next week, it's all in your own hands.
Right.
How does that make you feel, and how do you approach the game now?
Well, I think you got to approach it the same way we have this game, the same way we did against Portland last game, is running towards these games and understanding the magnitude of the situation and wanting that on our shoulders. I think that's what this group in this locker room wants. They want this challenge. They want the opportunity. They want to have it in their hands, and I think these are the games these guys definitely look forward to playing in.
Couple of heart-stopping moments at the end there with those scrambles around the net.
Yeah, I mean that's this part of the season in a league that's filled with parity. Is it's going to come down in MLS almost always to the final few weeks. That's what makes it fun and exciting for the fans. That's what makes it for coaching staffs and organizations frightening at times. And there were some of those moments for sure in this game. Obviously Vancouver had some chances too, and so I'd be lying if I didn't say there were some moments in there, but that's what happens in a game.
Carl, just your impressions of that one. What did you make of it? Especially, you seemed to be in control, and then was it switch off at the end? Or
I thought we were in total control, and I thought that a little mistake or if we switched off, it might cost us, and certainly it did. We know they had good players, and they had balls in certain areas, but they didn't really hurt us. But one little bit of luck with them obviously went through Timmy's legs, and we switched off, and they equalised in a game which we should have put to bed. So we've got to accept it. We're disappointed because it's an opportunity for us to win at home again, but we'll take the point and move on.
Like in the locker room, you took a little longer.
Disappointed. Disappointed, and it shows how far we've come. That we are disappointed. We're sitting at the top of the table, and we're disappointed because we haven't been able to find 3 points at home. But we need to play better as well.
Marinovic had a couple of pretty spectacular saves.
Yeah, he was excellent. He was excellent 2 games ago as well. said I pick the team and the players based upon who deserves to play. Nothing, who's in form. And David has played the majority of the games, but Steph, when he's come in, has been absolutely brilliant. And again, he was brilliant today.
How much pressure does it put on you guys now that you have to go on the road to clinch top spot, and you can essentially miss out on the top 2 spots now?
Yeah, we can. Listen, there's no pressure on us. We're at the top of the table, and everyone's trying to knock us down, which is fine, but we're happy we're there. We'd prefer to be there than 5th or 6th, hanging on to our playoff lives. We've been in the playoffs for 3 games, so we know we've got to go to Portland. Difficult place to go to. They're a good team, we know that. It should be a good game. It's all set up nicely.
At 1-0, Freddie has a few chances.
Yeah.
Jordy has another. Did you sort of just get a sense that
I did.
Something was going to happen?
It worried me when you don't get the second goal and kill teams off, because this league is very tight, as we know, and when that happens and you miss chance after chance after chance, it comes back to bite you on the bum sometimes, and it certainly did today. So, as I said, we're disappointed, but that shows how far we've come.
The Reyna goal seemed like sort of the prototypical goal this season, and that it was just everything happened quickly, and there was a bit of patience in the middle, and then a burst at the end. I mean, what did you see from your angle?
Good play. We worked on some patterns and movements of players, and that certainly happened. Obviously, the bug got in a little area and reversed the ball to Jacob, who played excellently all night and put in a good cross, and Jordy was in there to tap it in. So, good goal, good team goal. As you said, it wasn't enough to claim 3 points.
You heard the gaffers with their thoughts on the match, and we won't talk too much more about it, but we want to talk more about the implications from it. But just before we do wrap up talking about it, was there any players that stood out for you, Joe, positive or negative, that you thought had a good or really bad impact on the game for the Whitecaps?
Jake Nerwinski really stood out for me. I know Jordy Reyna was selected as the man of the match, but that's probably some offensive player bias there. Nerwinski, I noticed a tactical thing that Robbo must have noticed, that Teixeira would tuck in so that there would be a lot of space in front of Nerwinski for him to run into, because his offensive abilities have been on show recently, especially in this counter attack where he can get up and down very, very fast. Apart from Nerwinski, Reyna did have a good game, just the finishing again. We're going on and on about that. Waston was fantastic. That run he made up the field was amazing. Yeah,
we were talking about it. Like Steve's mentioned several times, how he likes to get up the field. That was incredible.
Yeah, and you're in the corner there. One guy that was retweeted by Chris Corrigan, Ali Ghazal, his stats for the game: 67 touches, 91.5% passing, 12 recoveries, 6 tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 blocks, and 50% duel winning. I think that was essentially his best game then at that point.
That's interesting, because for me, I didn't think he actually stood out that much.
Well, he's the kind of guy that I think if he doesn't stand out, that's good. He's that kind of player.
Well, we had a tweet from Whitecap Scarf who said he feels that Chani and Ghazal can't start together because they're too similar.
I do agree with that. I think Chani is that is the missing key for this team. That position. Chani's not capable of playing it, getting the ball up the field. I think that's where the black hole happens when they
He'd like to see Noza next game, but that's too big a risk to throw that in for
if he wasn't on the bench in this game, it's not going to happen.
And there's 2 kinds of Tony Chani. There's kind of sleepy Tony Chani and box-to-box Tony Chani. Yeah. If we have the second one, it's a different kind of a player we're talking about. But Ghazal today was fantastic. It's just that I think he's kind of the player that we thought Laba would turn into, Yeah. Very controlled on the ball, great, at this level, to have a player like that, just connecting all the dots is fantastic.
What about you, Zach? Anyone stand out positively or negatively?
Yeah, it's hard not to look at, Reyna, obviously, for the goal, and Jake's role in that. Yeah, I was going to mention Kendall's run upfield, kind of looking Beckenbauer-esque. But for me, the person is probably Christian Teixeira. His pass and what he provided going forward were great. But I also felt like he was more defensively responsible than maybe he has been in other games this year. including getting on the end of like some defensive headers, or at least one defensive header, which was incredible. So no, for me, Teixeira was a player who stood out, and of course, we don't need to use the word man of the match in a non-winning performance.
True, and yeah, I wouldn't have given it to Reyna. Obviously, he did just get it because of the goal. Nerwinski, yeah, again, really, really impressed for me. Disappointing for me. I didn't really think that Shea brought, like, he did well defensively, but offensively, I didn't think he brought enough. And the couple of chances that he had right at the death, that's what you're needing a DP player to be putting in the back of the net. And he wasn't able to do that. I also thought Davies stunk when he came on. I just thought that was a really bad outing for him.
Especially that one attack where he just took that extra touch into the box and just lost the ball. When
no need to do that.
I think to the left, I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody to his left that was wide open and could have easily brought him in.
Yeah.
He tried to go through two players. Like,
3, I think, at the one point.
Well, he beat one, I think he beat two, and then they kind of sandwiched him where he could, if he laid the ball to his left, he would be breaking into the box just on the left side. Yeah. But decision making at a young age, we can't really fault him too much for that.
He's only 16.
I can.
Yeah, Michael will.
Yeah. Just to go through a couple of tweets quickly here. Rick Halland at Hala777 says, if Geordie didn't keep looking for Montero all second half, he probably could have scored a second himself, which was frustrating. Because I tweeted out asking just for how people were feeling after that game, and Chris Corrigan, he gave David a hug today and thanked him. So obviously saying goodbye. But
it's not official until Zach breaks bread with him, and then they're gone for sure.
Yeah, you do like to say goodbye to all these players. Ryan McLeod at CTV Ryan says, I know it's not the end of the world, but it does feel like it's another missed opportunity in front of a big crowd. The team has made a habit of it, and it did remind me a lot of that Portland game. You're going, you're at home, you've got all that anticipation, Zach, which I know we've talked about before, and then you blow it on the big stage. And it isn't the end of the world, as we'll come to very soon, but it just feels such a waste again.
It's difficult because I know they're coming off of an away loss last week, but it was a chance to restart or build some momentum heading into the cup, and it was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah. Stefan Eriksson says meh to the whole performance, and bench Davies, bring on Nico. I wouldn't really be wanting to bring Nico on either, I've got to say. Whitecap Scarf also agreed that it's an opportunity missed. Mitch Williams, the One Wolf, says big crowd, golden opportunity, a choke, also known as Groundhog Day. We are slumping at the worst possible time, says Whitecap Scarf. Greg Petrie at Our Dumb World, par for the course. Expected them to stumble down the stretch against stronger teams. Sadly, they have, again. Feels a lot like 2015, says Ryan McLeod, limping into the playoffs. That's some tweets. Quite a pessimistic fan base, Joe, from reading those.
I think there's a kind of a sour taste in the mouth right now, but a couple of people touched on something that is very, very important, and that's going into the playoffs. How is the form? It doesn't really, like, where you finish in the table won't matter a lot if you're limping into the playoffs, like most of the Western conferences. Yeah. Like, there could be a team down there in the fourth, fifth, sixth place that's, they're good. They have a few good games and they carry that momentum into the playoffs. In the playoffs, you only need to win 5 games to get to the MLS Cup final.
Not even that, because you can draw some along the way. You can actually just win them all in penalty shootouts.
Yeah.
That would be my tactic. I would just be holding on for a penalty shootout. Perfect.
Yeah.
The draw today, they dropped 2 points, does put the Whitecaps into a little bit of a predicament.
Yeah. They need a result now.
They're leading the West. You heard Robbo say there's no pressure. They're the team at the top. Everyone's going to want to knock them off. I'm pretty sure they're going to feel the pressure when there's 21,000 folk baying for their blood at Piggy Park next week. 2 point lead over both Portland and Seattle, who both had big wins today, as Zach mentioned earlier on. If we don't win against Portland, there's a chance we'll finish third. We can't finish worse than third.
No.
But we could miss a top 2 spot, and this is a confident group of players. They don't really show signs of of having that confidence knocked very often. But you have to feel if they blow a first round bye at this stage, what is that going to do to their mentality?
Yeah, especially going into the playoffs. I think they need, like we said, if they get a result, because Seattle's not losing. They're playing Colorado.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Portland's going to use the game as well next weekend.
What, against Vancouver?
Yeah.
No, but they need a result. So if they get a result, then they basically clinch top spot. They get a draw. Now, the question is, do they play for the draw or they play for the win? Because if you play for the draw, you usually get a loss. And if you play for the win, maybe you get a draw then.
I don't know this team is capable, though, of playing for a draw, Joe.
Not at all. Like, in the MLS, playing for a draw is basically asking for it, because one mistake, we're not at the level where, like, you know, the famous Italian defending of old, where you cover every angle or anything like that. It, like, you know, one stupid mistake, I guess the ref can't influence it as much now with VAR in here, but it's such a dangerous game. Playing for the draw at this key stage where it would determine a week of break versus, a game midweek, that's not ideal. Yeah,
and it might also mean we have a home game on my anniversary, which really won't go down well. I mean, a trip to Portland or Seattle would have been nice, but a home game on our wedding anniversary...
That's horrendous.
Yeah, that's not going to go good as well. If we're feeling a little bit down today, though, as Whitecaps fans, now, a lot of folk won't know this. I was looking at this after the game when I was trying to see... The Colorado RSL game hadn't finished, so I was just kind of monitoring it to see what was happening with it. And a lot of folk aren't going to know this, but the stats for that game are absolutely incredible. RSL lost 1-0 to Colorado. RSL had 30 shots during that game.
How many on target?
7 on target.
Wow.
Guess how many shots Colorado had?
Don't tell me
one.
Two.
No.
1 on target.
Fantastic.
And 1-1-0. The possession.
Tim Howard came to play that game, didn't he?
72% possession for RSL.
Wow.
They shat the bed.
That's Whitecaps opponents' numbers.
And if you want to look at the possession intervals, which I'm holding up for people, which isn't really going to help, but Colorado dominated the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then afterwards.
And then... Yeah, you really have to go and check those stats out on MLS. That's the most mental stats I've ever seen for a match.
When was the goal in that match?
Oh,
early.
Yeah, actually.
It was early.
It was probably in that first 5 minutes. I'm going to have a look at that. You guys just talk amongst yourself. But
third minute, Michael. Third minute.
Oh, wow. That loss, though, for RSL and the point for San Jose springboarded San Jose into the playoff spots.
Yeah.
Now, if we were to finish third, we would be playing San Jose again at home.
Yeah,
I don't think that's that fearful, because we definitely had their
number
today.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really the end of the world if we finish third. And it would also mean, wedding anniversary problems apart, we'll be playing the second leg of the games away from home, which I said last week I feel suits this team.
I have to agree with you with that. Get a positive result at home and then play what we've always been playing away. Like, it's tricky. It's tricky again, because do we see Seattle and New York defensive Whitecaps, or do we see Sporting Kansas City defensive Whitecaps? I don't know. This team is so inconsistent. I know. I asked this question. I tweeted it in last week. Why are the Whitecaps so inconsistent? We just don't have an answer.
Yeah, well, I was talking about that during the week on Twitter, and then Nathan Van Stone, Mr. Whitecaps, the Caps PR guy, said, "What are you talking about inconsistency?" And said they're like 9-3-1 or whatever it was, the record, blah blah blah.
Oh, the record is fine, but the
performance is what's the inconsistent. Yeah. It's not. I mentioned that he didn't reply to that aspect of it, and you saw that today. And Joe talked about limping into the playoffs, Zach. You look at these last couple of games, and it's a 3-0 hammering against Seattle, and that was a hammering because we were never in the races. Somehow got a win, Colorado style, in KC, hammered by New York, and then today a 1-0 draw, which wasn't a horrendous performance, but they didn't do what they needed to do. Are you concerned just about the form that the team has right now?
Oh yeah, I mean it has to be at least somewhat concerning, right? Like this isn't 2013 or whatever. We're people are going to be like, we backed into a playoff spot, obviously, right? It's been earned.
Yeah, I thought we were going to back into the championship the way the results were going earlier today.
But no, it's very, very frustrating because there's such a great chance to go and do something, right, and do something special. This could be an incredibly special year. It could also be a year that ends in disaster, right? Like they're going to play in the playoffs, but if they go out, if they play on that Wednesday or Thursday one game thing and they go out, who's going to look back on the season and be like, it was great, we came third, and no one's going to. They're going to look back and say, what a wasted year or what a missed opportunity year. No Voyageurs Cup, no Cascadia Cup, no top of the Western Conference, a one and done in the playoffs.
Didn't even win the Rose City Invitational.
No.
Didn't even win any Mickey Mouse trophies.
No.
Nothing.
But I got a nice trip to Wales.
CONCACAF Champions League, I guess, semifinals is pretty nice.
Yeah,
but.
And a trip to Wales with a bladder infection. I mean, it was all good.
But the trophy for that is, pretty invisible.
So, looking at the MLS scenarios now, Houston is obviously in now.
Yeah, clinched their spot today.
They clinched with the draw against Sporting Kansas City, which kind of hurt them. So essentially, that last final spot goes to either San Jose, Dallas, and
Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And San Jose's got it in their own hands.
Yeah, they're hosting Minnesota. Dallas is hosting LA, and RSL is hosting Sporting Kansas City. So out of those, like, who do you think got that sixth spot at this point? I think it's got to be San Jose.
It has to be San Jose. Minnesota, though, they've only lost 2 of their last 6 games.
Yeah.
So they might want to go there and play spoiler.
Yeah.
They lost to LA today 3-0.
Yeah, that was one of the horrible ones. If anyone loses to LA, you've got to worry that that's not a good thing.
But those players are playing for their contracts next year now.
Yes.
LA,
they're going to be really worried. Bruce Arena's going to come back and clear house. But, yeah, I mean, you can't see anyone apart from San Jose, Zach, surely now. Or it has been a lot of twists and turns this year. And I do think whoever clinches that last spot is who the Whitecaps are going to play, because I'm not optimistic about next week.
Yeah, I talked to Shea Salinas after the game, and they're confident. They win and they're in. They're at home. It's Minnesota. I think they're confident that they're going to be able to pull this off.
I'd rather we have San Jose out of those 3 teams, because Dallas could suddenly find their form, and RSL were in a good run.
Yeah, they just had
I'd rather have San Jose.
And RSL was dangerous today. It's like you said, with the stats and everything. It's just they couldn't find the goal.
Yeah.
Tim Howard, like I said, came to play today. Didn't come to play against Trinidad and Tobago, but he can play today.
Plus, if the Whitecaps lose in Portland and they play San Jose in the one-off game, at least you'll think that they'll be up for it, because they'll realize, hey, we know we can do this against this team.
Yeah.
We screwed it up a week and a half ago. Let's go make it right.
That's just going to make it worse than if they go and hammer them 4-0, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, they could finish first, second, or third, but I think realistically they're going to finish first or third. Finish first, then if things stay as they are just now, Seattle would play San Jose, Sporting KC would play Houston. So there's a good chance then that the Whitecaps could find themselves playing the winners of Sporting and Houston. And I think that's the trickier route.
It says a lot that we're not confident, thinking we're top spot, but there's no one in this list here that you'd feel 100% confident that we can kick them around.
I mean, that's the thing. We know we can win on the road, but you look at all these places and it's like we've struggled in Houston, we've struggled at KC. Seattle just hammered us. Portland, we do well in Portland. So I don't think there's any easy route for the Whitecaps, but I genuinely, and I'm not trying to do some Whitecaps spin on you here, Zach, but I genuinely think if we lose next week and finish third, that might be our best route.
The only upside to not winning in Portland is that you don't the supporters don't have to give Seattle the Cascadia Cup. And you're right. On paper, if it plays out the way it should, San Jose winning, Seattle definitely winning, coming third, and then playing San Jose first before you go into playing San Jose first and then going against Portland or Seattle. I guess it would be Portland. It's probably a little bit nicer.
That brings us nicely on to Portland next week. Joe, what are you expecting from the lineup? what we saw today, or is Bolaños going to come in for Shea?
I think that you have to go back to Bolaños for this, because we saw today from Shea that going forward he doesn't offer as much, and we'll be playing on the counter again. That won't be a big surprise. I don't think much else of the lineup is going to change, and we need to have some offensive bite. In Kansas, that should have been a 0-0 draw. Let's call it a spade a spade.
That should have been a 5-0 Kansas win.
Pretty much, but we need a result. I'm not a fan of playing for the draw. I'm never a fan of playing for the draw. You need to have a game plan. Be it set pieces, be it doing what we did today and kind of shifting the team to the left so Nerwinski can run down the right, kind of a thing. There needs to be some definitive game plan. And if they just stroll in there and get a negative result, they're just going to like that with no momentum going into the playoffs. It's such a big game in so many ways.
Yeah, I agree that I don't think Shea should be in there, but I'm not sure about Bolaños either on that pitch. The guy maybe they want to go to, I don't know if he's fully fit, but Ibini. Possibly.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about him, actually.
Like, he can maybe drive on them a little bit and keep them honest on the wide side. So maybe he might be the best bet, because I think that Bolaños, I don't know, I just don't find that he is very effective in the games against Portland.
What about you, Zach? Would you make changes?
I have a strong sense that Bolo will play in Portland. Steve, I think you're thinking about the game earlier in Portland this year where Bola seemed maybe to switch off on one of their goals.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, but
he has a habit of switching off, though. That is the worry. Because he isn't fantastic defensively.
When the games get intense, like against rivals and everything like that, that's when he kind of is not there. When it's a game against somebody that really there's no stakes at, that's when he seems to play better. I don't know. That's what it seems to be.
It depends on the game plan again, because if you're playing on the counter. Who would you rather have, Bolaños or Shea in there, right? Bolaños is tricky in the midfield. He can lose a man and then potentially be that guy in the midfield who plays the ball, to Teixeira, to Montero, whoever. But if you want a bit more cover on that left-hand side, Powell today for Portland scored a fantastic goal. So, if we go more defensive on that side to counter Powell, then you would want Shea rather than Bolaños, because if it's a winger against a fullback, you lose Powell, dangerous, top of the box, all that stuff.
Joe, though, I think there's been times this year that Breck has been defensively very, very poor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right? he kind of switches off too. He has his moments.
But it's like the lesser of two evils in that sense. They both offer positives going forward, I personally believe. But, Bolaños, I in my opinion, Bolaños would switch off a little bit more and he would not track back as much. Remember when he arrived first, he had a really big problem not picking up like the fullback as he would make an overlapping run.
Maybe play Harvey with De Jong in front of Harvey.
Oh, now there's an interesting one.
Because he does get forward, and he is obviously going to be more responsible defensively.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, actually.
Yeah, that's should get on the phone about that, Steve.
Yeah, I've got Robo's number. Let's call him up now.
Yeah. We'll have to hang up with
Zach. We'll get Zach off. We've only got the one line, and then we'll get Robo on the phone.
Or could we see the 352?
There's more than one line.
No.
Joe's just said, "Can we see the 352?"
No,
get out now for even mentioning that. I love the 352.
I love the concept, but the Whitecaps do not have the personnel to play the 352. Nerwinski would be a great wing back, but on the other side, we don't have a wing back. Maybe Davies, but he's not in form right now.
So let's wrap this section up then with some predictions. First of all, I'll ask you where you think. Well, you can give both at once. What do you think the score is going to be next week, and where you think the Caps will finish first, second, or third? Now, I'm hoping the Caps watch East Fife's game against Albion Rovers from Saturday, where they were 4-1 down and then won 5-4 with 2 goals in stoppage time. That's the kind of fight I wouldn't mind seeing.
I'd rather just have the 4 goals instead of being down 4-1 and win 4-0.
It makes it exciting.
No, I want exciting. Ulcers. You don't need them.
So, Zach, you can kick things off. What's your prediction of the score in Portland, and where do you think the Caps will finish?
I think it'll be 3-1 for Portland, and I think therefore the Caps will finish third.
Joe?
I think it will be a 1-1 draw, and the Whitecaps will finish second or possibly first. First, I'll go first.
That would put them first.
Yeah.
I see a 2-2 draw. I see the Whitecaps going up 2-0 and then finally barely hanging on for the draw.
I don't know that anyone's nerves can take that.
The lamest way to get top of the conference.
I see Timber scoring twice in the last 85th minute and beyond, twice in there, and then end up 2-2, and they end up in first place.
I don't like your crystal balls, although the end result is good. So I will rub your balls.
Rub them away.
It seems people are tripping over each other trying to get. This conference this season has been fascinating to watch. To be honest, just when you think a team is going to pull away, they just someone kind of. Oh, it's just hilarious to watch.
I'm going to go for 3-0 for Portland, obviously. And the Cats will finish third and win the MLS Cup with a string of 0-0 draws and penalty shootout triumphs.
How many rounds in the penalty shootout? Will it go to goalkeepers?
It'll go 2 rounds. It'll be like 22 shots each or something. Marinovic will save everything.
Only 7 goals.
We won't get any on target. That'll be fantastic. I'm looking forward to the playoffs already. In my head, the playoffs are going to be fantastic. I like to think that as opposed to just one and done. Are you heading down to Portland next week, Zach? Because I really don't want to go, but I don't want to miss. I was saying this to Steve beforehand. I don't want to go all that way and then it's disappointed. But I don't want to not go and then we win our first ever Western Conference.
Yeah. No, I have a ticket. I'm planning to go. I just don't know if I'm going on Saturday or if it's going to be a one-dayer again. But
yeah. And on that note, we will bid farewell to you, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for letting me call in. Joe, I just want to warn you that during Wavelength, you'll see a lot of Michael's dancing. However, it's not. I was really disappointed last night at the Arcade Fire show that Michael did not put his Wavelength dancing into practice.
I did when you went away.
Oh, and okay.
I've been mentally preparing, Zach.
Oh, you busted it out after I left.
Yeah, and I think it's bad for you to bail tonight, but it's really nice for Joe to turn up tonight when it is her bikini shoot. So full credit to Joe for that.
Although mine is 2 sizes too small, and I clearly told him extra large.
I told him it's never too small. And on that note, thank you so much, Zach, and we'll be back after these messages.
Hey, it's Stefan Runovic, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
¿Qué dice el árbitro? Espérate, que creo que se acabó el tiro y abajo, no sé. Me ponen una toma que no es. Ponme el tiro abierto que dice que se acabó. Se acabó, chucha. Se acabó, dice que palabra 10. ¡Vamos al mundial! ¡Hombre! ¡Ya la villa! ¡Vamos al mundial, Miguel! ¡Vamos al mundial!
Yes, you are still listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, and that was the magnificent, excited celebrations by the Panamanian commentators from Tuesday night. I was watching, I had a fantastic 3 hours on Tuesday night. It was great flicking back and forth between the CONCACAF games and then the CONMEBOL games and America crashing out, Blas Perez scoring a wonderful goal. We'll come to that.
Was it a goal?
It was a goal. I'd give that any day of the week. Yeah, it was fantastic. The excitement. Joe has just sobered up. Republic of Ireland qualifying against Wales. That was a fantastic win for you guys.
That was absolutely excellent. The performance by the Republic of Ireland team, Martin O'Neill with his game plan. I saw an article today written by Daniel Taylor, who was a very reputable football writer in the UK, saying that Martin O'Neill is now one of the elite managers, even though he's never gotten a good job. And you can see what it means.
Celtic job?
Yeah, but he was with Aston Villa for a bit, and then he got fired because they stagnated for a long time, and then. But at
least he didn't relegate them.
No, that's true. But what a performance that game! The beauty of a game plan by players that know how to carry out a game plan is something we don't really see that much in MLS. But Actually, I was talking to Michael earlier about the similarities between the way Ireland play, which is park the bus, play two wingers that defend kind of a thing, and the way that the Whitecaps want to play. Everyone tucking in, 2 banks of 4 kind of, and just not giving any chances. That Ireland game against Wales were missing Gareth Bale for that match, but it was a fantastic game plan executed. All Wales could do was pass the ball in from deep, and the Irish fullbacks, anyone who's ever watched an Irish centre back will know that they love heading those balls away all day long.
Andy O'Brien.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun
I mean,
memories.
that was great. I'm still having night terrors about Scotland's exit, but made slightly better by the fact that Slovakia didn't make it.
Yeah,
so
nobody made it from that. That was the group that nobody...
We would have made it through
if
we'd won.
Yeah.
But still, Slovakia didn't make it, so screw them. In this part, we're going to look at the World Cup qualifiers for a bit, because lots of Whitecaps connections could have Whitecaps implications as well in the playoffs. Not directly, but possibly indirectly. But we'll kick off in CONCACAF, since that's where we are. That was a fun night. I had...
like we said last week, the stars aligned, I guess.
Yeah.
And the stripes.
Because I was saying, it's possible that they might not... The US might not qualify, and it's like, no, of course they will.
Well, apparently there was I could be wrong. There was 27 combinations.
I think it was a 1 in 32 combination.
Okay, 32 combinations, and that was the combination. Yeah. That was the only combination that could eliminate them, and that was the one that happened.
Well, the fact that they were both losing as well, and I actually said to my wife, who had no interest in it, but I had to have someone to talk to.
Jamaica?
Yeah, she listened of her own accord.
Okay.
I was saying to her, I'm just waiting now for a couple of own goals by Mexico or something controversial just to screw over the US, and it was an own goal by Mexico.
Was that considered an own goal? Off the head? Off the post?
It was given as an own goal.
Once it hits the post, it is no longer on target.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But, I mean, US went 2-0 down. The second goal for Trinidad and Tobago, that was a screamer.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable shot. And then they and the thing is they showed,
an own goal as well from the US.
And then they showed no urgency in that whole game. It was unbelievable. It
was the pitch. They can't play on pitches that's wet.
Could Tim Howard have done better with that long distance shot, do you think?
Probably.
I also like his I know he's not expecting Gonzalez to loop the ball over him like that, but he could have possibly done a bit better with that as well.
Maybe it was a waterlogged pitch. He couldn't move as well.
The moratoriums, though, on the US afterwards.
Think pieces.
At first, it was fun. Now it's just overkill, and you're like, oh, geez, not another piece about the US not qualifying.
We were going to do something. Well, I'll read some of the headlines that we were going to do, but we'll use them now. USA Soccer Nightmare. That was in there.
One man's nightmare is another one's dream.
U.S. soccer needs a good shake-up. Now it has half a decade. They threw that in there to make it seem like epic. Revolution begins at the bottom. Soccer revolution begins at the bottom. Take control back from the soccer industrial complex. And I think that's a lot to do with the pay to play. And I think the guys like Taylor Twellman discussed it. A lot of people discussed that how are you going to discover these guys when you especially the middle class to lower class families, when you have to pay so much to get in. There was an article about FC Dallas and how much people they have in there and how much they make.
But look, they've produced players into their first team, though.
They have produced, and the people that go into that academy, the actual academy, they don't pay. It's the other ones that pay initially, and then they use them and try and bring them into the academy.
But I see both sides to this. Pay to play, it does disadvantage the poor kids, but why should kids have stuff for nothing? Someone has to pay for it.
Yeah. And as long as the country's doing scouting where they find these guys, and then maybe they can offer a scholarship for a player here and there.
Folk will turn it back into Canada like with TSS, because that's a pay-to-play academy, and that's an issue that a lot of folk have had with TSS. But that's their business.
Yeah.
They're not running a soccer academy for the good of their health.
No.
That's their living. It's their livelihood. They have a mortgage to pay. They have electricity bills for the complex. They've got rent. They can't do free. Somebody has to pay for it.
Yeah, and as long as there's places out there that can offer, maybe they should just do it where it's a balance. You offer scholarships to kids that you'll show promise, and you can bring them into these kind of things.
But it's slightly different, I think, for a country like Canada and the States compared to like everyone's drawing comparisons to like Iceland, who qualified, the smallest ever country to qualify for the World Cup. Like, these are small countries that, you know, you make a decision and within a year you could probably have it implemented, like top to bottom.
Yeah.
And another thing that I heard on one of the MLS podcasts was that the States is a very culturally diverse country where people are coming from different backgrounds and different ways that they were taught to play. You have like people from Europe coming with some methods, people from South America, then there's the big Mexican influence in the States as well. I don't know if there is a top to bottom, like, this is how we're going to play. I think it was Taylor Twellman that was talking about this, that they need to, if they want to win, they have to find an identity. Like, inclusiveness is great, and it's what America is all about, but to win something you have to have an identity.
And it is tough. And when you look at the way that they went out, I mean, I find it hilarious, but it is also so weird. Honduras fought back so well against Mexico.
Who would have thought to see them, after the way they lost to Costa Rica, that they beat Mexico, and they played the two toughest teams?
Who would have thought that after the halftime scores were there, Mexico just wouldn't turn up in the second half? Shocker.
Yeah, and then you got the, like we said, the Blas Perez goal, and then
I mean, for all my joking, that is scandalous.
And then Ignati, the FIFA president, has actually brought that up and possibly wants to have VAR in all qualification games because of that one goal.
How does Blas Perez attract controversy the way he does? It really is a skill. It's like Luis Suarez-esque kind of ability to just have controversy.
I think it was him that was tugged in the build-up to it, so it could possibly have been a penalty.
It would have been a penalty and a red card, even with the new rules, because the player was not making an attempt to play the ball. Yeah. So, and that's actually what the Panamanian players were appealing, not the goal. And the referee just got confused and called it as a goal.
I think it was great refereeing. It saved time. He just wanted to get on with the game.
Yeah, there's no need to time waste.
And the winning goal, which a minute to go.
Yeah,
Roman Torres.
What's he doing up there?
Seattle Sounders screwing over
basically
the
pulled
US.
a Kendall Waston.
Yeah.
But the technique on that was amazing. The ball was bouncing. He was holding off the defender on his left-hand side, getting over the ball. Like, what are these CONCACAF centre-backs like we've seen, Waston and Torres, why aren't they playing up front, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if he gets kicked out of the States because of that, take him here, go three at the back. Parker, him, Waston, we're set.
That's it, yeah. And then the thing is, was the clip we played, when the final whistle was blown and they were celebrating, like just moments before that clip, if you watch it, there was a pitch invasion by an old grandma.
Yeah.
And that was the funniest thing. And they were, it was, and the streets were just alive after the game, and they were just so excited because it's their first appearance in the World Cup.
I had the game on. It was just phenomenal to watch.
The president of Panama declared a national holiday the next day at 2 o'clock in the morning, which means he was probably not in a state to make good decisions and needed a quick excuse not to go to work the next morning.
That's probably very true.
Yeah.
I was just really pleased for them. It's nice when it's a country that's never been there before that's got there. I just like that. And I know a lot of folk don't like Panama for the way that they play, dirty tactics, etc., etc. It was a masterclass of time wasting for the last 5 minutes, though. That was tremendous.
The
as well.
substitute that came running to boot the ball away, that was phenomenal. That really was.
But then we got South America. Yeah. No, we're talking about CONCACAF. CONMEBOL was just out of this world.
Yeah.
And the way that
that was before the CONCACAF game, so I was watching those first, and then the CONCACAF one started at the same time, so it was hard. I had 3 games going at the one time. Bizarrely, I had the Argentina game on in English and the America game on in Spanish from the streams that I found on YouTube.
No. But it was amazing. Argentina they actually, Messi was able to pull it out by himself, basically, seemed like.
Yeah.
And then Chile's out.
I mean,
Chile missing, that they do have. I know the word is thrown around a lot, but they have a golden generation right now with the players they have, and like them missing is so. Like Alexis Sanchez is one of the best players in the Premier League. Yeah. He's not going to be at the World Cup.
Pedro's not having a good year.
No, it was a big surprise. Peru Colombia.
Well, they kind of arranged something. It seemed like
they've said they haven't, and I take them for their word. I trust them.
I don't know how people were saying, "Oh, look, they're collaborating," but everybody's got their hands through their face. How are you reading lips through somebody's hand?
I guess it just looks suspicious.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I still. don't understand that Peru are happy with.
Yeah, if you're
being in a
Peru, don't you
playoff.
want to win the game and then you don't have to go through a playoff? I don't buy that.
I know they're confident that they're going to beat New Zealand, and everyone I've chatted to on Twitter about it's like, oh, they're going to beat New Zealand. It's not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
New Zealand have Stefan Marinovic
and they went
and Meyer Bevan,
and they just went to the competition. I can't remember what it was called. In Russia, where the
Confederations Cup.
Cup. That's it. And while they didn't win too many games, they were. They kept themselves.
They weren't
in the game.
outclassed, and they got experience at that level, which Stefan talked about a few weeks ago on our show.
And New Zealand are the only team in World Cup history to have never lost a game at the World Cup. They drew all 3 of their games in 2010. So
they lost to Scotland 5-2 in 1982.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm misinformed.
Yeah, they were in Scotland's group.
How many games have Scotland?
Scotland were 4-0 up, and then New Zealand pulled 2 back, and you're like, oh, jeez, and then we got a 5th.
Ah. How many times has Scotland scored 5 at a World Cup?
I think that might be the only time.
One time, probably.
But those 2 goals meant we didn't qualify for goal difference.
Ah, I have a fantastic Scotland World Cup story that I heard. I don't know if you've heard of this one before. So I think Scotland were playing the opening game. I forget which World Cup it was, against Brazil, and the opening ceremony ran long. So the players had to warm up in a little room just inside the stadium while they cleaned up after the opening ceremony. And it was Scotland versus Brazil, and the Scottish players were doing these little shuttle runs and sprints up and down, getting really hyped up to play the Brazilian team. And the player that was telling the story said that at the end of the little run, you could see down a hallway to where the Brazilian players were warming up. So every time you would make the run, you'd have a quick little peek to your side and have a look and see what the Brazilian players were doing. And the player said he made one run, had a quick look. The Brazilian players were dancing in the other room, just doing samba, preparing for the game. And Brazil, that was a famous Scottish performance, but they still lost, I think. They lost 2-1.
Yeah. That was one of their many heartbreaking performances. I think I could be in the running, though, for the job to take over from Gordon Strachan. Alex McLeish is a forerunner, hasn't managed for a couple of years, but has said he's watched a lot of Premiership games the last couple of years. So I'm in with a shout, I think.
David Moyes too, you probably have a better reputation.
I wouldn't mind having David Moyes, actually. I know his stock's gone down a bit, but I still think he's a good manager. But Peru, New Zealand, implications for the Whitecaps in the playoffs. Jordi Reyna came on in the closing minutes against Colombia, so you have to feel he's going to be involved in the playoff in the squad, if nothing else. Stefan Marinovic, Meyer Bevan and Declan Wynn as well, but that doesn't affect us. But Stefan Marinovic, our new starting goalkeeper, is New Zealand number 1. So both of them are now going to be going away to play in that game.
Jordi Reyna is not confirmed.
No, he will.
Oh, he will, you think? Okay.
He came on, so he's at least going to be in the squad. He might not play, but he'll be in the squad.
But he was only there because of injury issues initially, right?
Yeah, but then he got on.
Yeah.
So I don't think you'd have brought him on if you didn't want to really have a look at him. It was a massive thing for them.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's a tough one. They have changed the dates, which means that they won't actually miss a playoff game, because it looked like they would miss the second leg of the Western semi-final, which is ridiculous. And folk are saying, well, how are MLS meant to factor in all these kind of things? These dates were known forever.
Yeah. You
just don't play your playoffs around it. And if it was America that was in it, you'd be damn sure that they would manage to change it for that.
Oh, exactly.
The impact it could have is they're going to come back tired. They could come back injured.
Now, the second leg's in Peru.
Yeah. So it's a shorter flight, but it's not a direct flight.
No. And it depends on where they're playing the next game, too, after that. It could be in America somewhere they're playing, so it might be...
True, we don't know where.
Yeah.
Where we'll be, or if we even will have a game.
Yeah, exactly.
The season could be long over and all these points are moot. Who do you fancy in it? Peru, New Zealand? Or who are you rooting for?
I kind of think that... I know... I like betting against the favourite sometimes, especially when they're so overwhelmingly... Everybody's talking about it, so... I do think...
the Man United fan.
Yeah, I think the Peru... but I do think Peru will pull out. I probably will be cheering for New Zealand, though.
I think it will be closer than people are assuming on Twitter, but I still think Peru have enough to make it. It means so much for both teams, but Peru in particular. I know a lot of my Peruvian friends are just going crazy at the prospect of making it to the World Cup.
I think the first leg in New Zealand could be a draw. 1-1 maybe. 0-0 maybe. But then I think Peru will comfortably win by a couple of goals in the second leg. I want New Zealand to win, just because, simple reason, Yuri Reyna's never done an interview with us in English. We've spoken to Declan Wynn, Meyer Bevan and Stefan Marinovic a lot of times.
That's the tiebreaker right there.
That's why I'm going for New Zealand.
That's Yuri Reyna's fault for not learning English.
Yeah. And you have to wonder as well, would America have done better if they had Timmy Parker in the defence?
Couldn't have done any worse.
That's true, yeah.
Because they're out of the World Cup.
Would Timmy Parker have deflected a ball over his own goalkeeper into the net? No.
Never seen him do anything close to that. So I think they would have. I think they should have called up Timmy Parker. But the US's loss is the Whitecaps' gain. And that just brings me nicely to our new segment which we launched last week, Take Me Out, all about takeout food. So this week, Timmy Parker is going to
Take me out!
So Tim, you're at home at night, you can't be bothered cooking, you decide to get some takeout food. What is your takeout food of choice?
Usually Mexican, like tacos, or it would be between Mexican or sushi.
Do you have any favourite places here that you kind of go to for it regularly?
Yeah, I think for sushi, there's a place over by my apartment, it's called Sushi California. And then Mexican, it's kind of a toss-up between Chipotle and La Mezcal.
Do you find the food different here to what you've used to been growing up with out in New York?
Yeah, very. I think growing up in New York, there's definitely like a lot more, I guess, kind of standard restaurants, not really specific food, so I guess a lot more kind of American restaurant style.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Yep.
To the shop, I went to the chip shop, went to the burger shop, did it on a long stop. Hey, hey, I want a Johnny takeaway. Hey, hey, woo, woo, woo. Hey, hey, I want a Johnny takeaway. Hey, hey, woo, woo, woo.
So Tim Parker there, talking about his favourite takeout places. And now, it's time for BC's Soccer Web headlines. BC Soccer Web headlines are brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for local, national and international news and links. Make sure you add bcsoccerweb.com to your daily feed. You'll get all the news and all the headlines, and we're going to look over some of the ones that's caught our eye this week, Steve.
Yeah, we've already talked about a few, like for the World Cup stuff, so we'll skip those. One of the funnier ones was a Russian football commentator walks out on live air. Essentially, he disagreed with the referee's call, and just left. And basically, I think the last 20 to 30 minutes was basically dead air.
Yeah.
And they just showed the thing. He just was so upset. I don't know if you've ever done that for UBC or TSS. No walkout yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I did pass the headset to Joe on Friday night when UBC were losing 1-0. Gave it to Joe for the last 15 minutes, and they scored 3 goals.
Excellent.
Luck of the Irish, definitely. Another
headline, Chinese Super League administrators bring in foreign referees. So obviously the referees that are currently in China, they're not really working out. So maybe MLS should take it. Maybe bring somebody in from outside.
Not been a good year for the Chinese Premier League.
No. There's been a lot of stuff that comes up there.
Have you discussed the Andres Villas-Boas complaining about the time-wasting strategies that he's been...
Well, we complained about the fact that I think he's the one that complained that once about the accidents being in front of him, and he had to delay them getting to him.
Orchestrated accidents.
Orchestrated accidents. Another headline, Tim Cahill may face FIFA investigation for sponsored goal celebration. Now, he's sponsored by somebody and a T something, and he made a T symbol after scoring that big goal against Syria.
Yeah.
And basically now there might be some issues with that because it's a sponsor.
But it's all nonsense. Basically, before the game, I emailed him and I asked him, what's his beverage of choice? Is it coffee or tea? And does he want a chocolate digestive with it? And that was just him giving me the answer.
Let you know what it was. Yeah, exactly.
Tea, no chocolate digestive.
Yeah. One of the bigger stories, a bribery case has been opened up against the PSG owner, Nasser Al-Khelaifi.
Qatari.
Yes, and he's a PSG owner. And basically, it has to do with BN Sports and a company called Valky over the World Cup TV rights. So that I
They're
think
so shady around the world, though.
I know. So I think I wonder if that's going to affect something down the road. I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, but maybe Qatar. Again, we talked about it last week, and maybe
I think we're just hoping that something's going to affect Qatar.
Because I honestly don't want to see anybody die in that heat.
Yeah,
I think at this point, FIFA can't do anything just to save face. They can't really move that World Cup or anything, because they have to justify their own process. Kind of like all the bribery stuff that we've seen from the outside. It looks like a huge scandal and Sepp Blatter and all that stuff. But on the inside, there's still this facade that everything's okay, and the amount of money that they spend on conferences and the phony surveying process that they have for each country when there's bribery going on behind the scenes, so everyone knows who they're going to vote for anyway.
It's all the TV rights as well, because there was a good thread that a guy had gone on Twitter about, and the USSF and MLS and SUM and everything, they're also intertwined, and they're selling rights to the domestic game and to the US qualifiers. Then you've got the big deal that's been signed by Fox for the World Cup.
Yeah.
And now the US isn't going to be there. So they've got this mega $1 million deal to show games at 2 a.m.
Yeah. That Twitter feed that you were talking about, that really needs to be looked into more, because the people that decide on conflict of interest are the same people that are in charge of Major League Soccer, John Garber, and the head of the US men's soccer, I forget his name, but
Sunil Gulati, who somehow is hanging on to his job because there doesn't seem to be anyone else that can come in and.
There are people that are.
I don't know how serious contenders they really are, though.
And it's only the last few days now that they didn't qualify, that there's any talk of anyone else running against him.
Yeah, because nobody brought it up before, but we brought it up. It was a headline a few weeks ago that we brought up. But the only issue is if too many people start running, that's going to split the vote for the people against Gulati, and then Gulati's
it needs to be one solid candidate that everyone can get behind.
Exactly. A story out of Pakistan: FIFA has suspended Pakistan from international play due to government interference. Norway FA agrees to pay male and female international football players equally, which I still have an issue with. Why do you have to play your international players? I could understand paying them a stipend, for their expenses, but I don't think they should earn a salary. They should be playing for the country.
It should be a privilege. It used to be a privilege.
Yeah, I don't know where this started.
When I was growing up, it's like to put on the Scotland jersey, that's all that young lads wanted to do.
Like in other sports, I don't think anybody gets paid. I think this is only a football thing. I don't think it happens in hockey. I don't think it happens in basketball. I could be wrong, but I never heard of it like this.
And I know the English national team players for a few years now have been donating that fee that they get from the FA to charity.
Yeah.
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think Wayne Rooney was behind all that. But I agree. You really shouldn't get paid to play for your national team. It should be about pride and all that kind of stuff.
I'd love to play for Scotland. I think I've got a chance.
Another story. The USSF is seeking a dismissal of that antitrust case. It came out this week. I think it could happen.
I read the document.
Yeah.
I tweeted it out as well, and when you read it, they actually make a lot of valid points, and I could see it getting thrown out. But they make a lot of good points in that. They shoot down a lot of the NSL arguments, saying, look, basically, this is what we've said it's been for years. We gave you a chance to sort this. You haven't done it. Whereas USL have done some things, which we're going to kind of come to with WFC2 in a little bit, but they're going to meet the criteria.
Yeah. A couple stories about CPL this week. First of all, the Wanderer Stadium, which is the one in Halifax. They're saying now it won't be ready till 2019, which could be the whole thing about them not starting until 2019 at this point.
I've been told it's not starting until 2019.
Yeah, and I don't think they should rush. I think that's a smart move. Don't rush into something and then make it seem like a Mickey Mouse operation. Yeah. Get it all your ducks in a row, and then set it up on 2019 and get running on that. A little bit of mystery came out this week about apparently a stadium.
Was it a mystery?
It was to this author.
The author of this article, yeah.
He was clearly not clued in because his initial thing was Mystery Stadium coming to Surrey. He asked Whitecaps, Bobby Leonarduzzi. He would ask the BC Lions. They said they have no idea what's going on here. But it came out later on in the week. Global, I think, broke it.
Yeah.
A couple other places.
Because the CPL issued an actual statement.
Yeah, exactly. Because he should have.
But you would have thought that they would maybe have done. He's probably never heard of the CPL though.
No, but he should have just asked somebody like. Is somebody in the soccer community, and if he just paid a little bit of attention, he would have found out what's going on. But it's fine. But it is coming now.
Yep.
It's not coming.
Yes.
It's not coming.
It's out for
discussion or
I was going to say
debate.
tender, but it's not really tender. It's
Planning
out for
permission.
Planning permission.
That's
and
what
other interested parties.
Yeah. So it looks like if Surrey is obviously an ideal situation only because it's out in the middle. Kind of, it can attract people from Vancouver, New West, Richmond, and then also. It's easier for people from Langley, Cloverdale, to get there. People can come by SkyTrain.
Yes, that's been the big thing.
Yeah, and
from what I've learned this week, the Fraser Valley group that's behind it, they'd initially been looking at Langley, but then, I mean, we talked about this. It's not on a SkyTrain, so although you've got maybe like Langley United do great things out in Langley. Whitecaps have played games in Langley and they get good crowds. But to get the kind of attendances they're wanting, it has to be by a transit hub. So they've now looked at Surrey. I think Surrey is their number one choice. The Langley thing, there was planning permission put into Langley Township for a stadium. And I believe it is still in there as well. So there's plans in with Surrey, there's plans in with Langley. But I think Surrey's plan A and Langley is plan B.
Yeah, and I think that would work out. I still say that Coquitlam is that field.
Coquitlam or Burnaby, I think, makes way more sense.
Burnaby would be the best sense, but I don't know.
Burquitlam.
Yeah, something like that.
Which I can't believe actually is a place, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think I agree that they need a central location, and that would be it. And that's it for headlines.
Yeah. I've been to Percy Perry in Coquitlam.
Yeah, that's
it was very cold that night.
Yeah,
I was like, brr, Coquitlam.
Nice breweries out there too.
Yeah.
Add that in.
I never got to tell my Portland joke that I had. I meant to tweet out. I was going to get people to send us their best Portland jokes. So I'll just tell you this one now.
Sure. Portland
fan goes to the doctor. He's got a frog in his ear. And the doctor says, "How long have you had that for?" And the frog says, quite a few months now. It started as a boil in my ass.
You have to edit that out.
Moving on. Talked about it there. It wasn't a headline this week. I'm pretty sure it will be a headline next week.
Yeah, it came on later on in the weekend.
Yeah, of course, it's our own article on AFTN. We gave you all the ins and outs. We've talked about it on the podcast for quite a few weeks now. That it's the end of the Whitecaps 2 season. It's the end of the Whitecaps 2. And I didn't really want to bring out all the facts and all the ins and outs of it until the season was over, out of respect for the team, for the players, and to make sure that I got all the facts. Because as I've talked about in this show before, being first with the news is not important. Being accurate and factual with the news is what is important.
100%.
Mystery Stadium.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Nashville guy from last week.
Oh, yeah, that
well.
yeah. It's like, get your facts right. And yeah, other folk have tweeted about this, and then I had basically everything that's in our article is accurate. The Whitecaps are going to be signing a deal with Fresno. It can't get announced until after the current USL season.
Which is, I think, mid-November or so?
The USL Cup's mid-November. So the Whitecaps can't say anything. They've had a lot of criticism. Why aren't you saying anything? They're not able to say anything until the season finishes. Not their season, but the USL season. There's going to be a deal with Fresno. There's a lot of ins and outs to it, but my understanding is there's going to be at least 12 Whitecaps players going down there. Some of them will have MLS deals. Some of them will have Whitecaps USL deals. There'll be at least 6 Canadians there. The team is not going to be coached and run by Frank Yallop. He is the general manager. There's going to be a head coach put in. That head coach, the Whitecaps will work with Fresno to appoint it. He'll work closely with Robbo. The Whitecaps will have a liaison guy that will travel between Vancouver and Fresno just to make sure that everything's working good, keep a tab on the players, see how they're getting on. For me, I think that will be Rich Fagan. That isn't confirmed or anything. I just think it might be Rich. Rich is going to move to be the head coach of the U19s, going back to what he did before. So I think that makes sense for him to do that.
Another liaison could be Craig Dalrymple too.
Yeah, Dalrymple could be that.
He could be
Gordon Forrest could even go up and down, but obviously he's busy
with the first team.
Yeah. And a lot of people have said, oh, the Whitecaps are doing this from a monetary point of view. And yes, they are, in that they're doing it because they're losing a lot of money. And can you put a price on development? If you look at how much money they're investing in the residency programme and what that programme has produced, they're not getting the return that they should get for that. And this way, the players still are getting developed. And, well, first of all, I want to say, I wish the team was still here.
Yeah.
I loved this team. I loved covering the team. I was one of the few folk that did cover them. I went to training. We interviewed the players. We were very close to the team. As a brand, AFTN, we worked closely with the team, did colour commentary this year for them.
We did. We used to do podcasts right after the game.
Yeah. Sometimes during it.
Yeah, sometimes during it.
And I wish the team was still here. But it makes sense to me from a business decision that they go somewhere else. But not only that, these players are now not guaranteed that they're going to be starting.
Yeah.
The CSA mandated that 6 Canadians had to start. That's gone now.
Yeah, they have to earn it.
Yeah, they have to earn their spot. They have to show that they deserve to make that breakthrough. And there's not been players this year that you look at and think, yeah, they can get an MLS deal. The only two for me that would maybe get MLS deals, Meyer Bevan, David Norman. David Norman, for me, is the Whitecaps 2 Player of the Year.
Yeah, and I think another guy could be on the outskirts would be maybe Gloria Manda.
Yeah,
he could be
Declan Wynn as well.
Yeah.
I like,
but
Declan
Wynn's old.
I don't see
he's older, so I don't know if it's gonna
mid-20s.
Mid-20s is too old for like a developmental guy to bring in.
That cuts me deep, Steve.
Yeah, cuts me deep from twice that.
Yeah, I'm up there too. So I'm just talking about soccer age.
Yeah, right. And it's hard to see where he fits in. But I mean,
and the thing is, how many roster spots are usually on a USL team? 20 to 25.
Yeah.
So that's half the team is going to come from the Whitecaps, and then half the team is going to be veterans, and they're going to have to compete to earn their spots, and that could be beneficial. You're saying 6 minimum Canadians? It could be more.
Yeah.
It could be up to 10, but there will be 12 players going down.
And some of those 6 could be the ones that have got MLS deals like Bustos and things. Obviously, we don't know.
And Canadians count as domestic too, there, right?
Yes, that's the
so
big
that'll help them too, because they don't have to worry about being considered international players.
And they're hoping to get 9,000 to 10,000 fans there. Whether those fans want to go and watch Canadian teenagers is another thing.
It would be interesting to see what the fan base, their reaction to this when it comes out, because their identity is going to change. Their head coach is going to be appointed by a Canadian club. It could be seamless, but there's potential there for
But I mean, all these clubs have some affiliation. Like Reno, doing well in their first year. They're like San Jose Earthquakes. And the San Jose keeper today actually played a month with Reno. So they've had a good relationship there. What's your thoughts on it? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing?
Well, obviously the decision was made from a financial standpoint. And on Twitter, a lot of people have been talking about, like, have the Whitecaps really benefited from having the Whitecaps 2 around? Like, which players can we name that have come through? Maybe Brett Levis. Obviously, his injuries kind of putting him back a little bit now. But I do think one valuable thing we will be losing, and I think it will come and bite us later on, is that now players have to travel. If we need a player quickly to come back for a game, they're going to have to fly up. And we see, like...
But they haven't used it that much. And they haven't dropped people down for like conditioning stints this year at all.
Like the players that they put down stayed there.
Yeah.
Like Bustos and Seiler and Spencer Ritchie as well, barring emergency things. So Robbo hasn't wanted to use it this year for that. So if he's not going to use it, it doesn't matter whether it's here or
somewhere else.
Timbuktu. Timbuktu maybe because it's a different league. But
that's not a direct flight either.
No, I think maybe 3 flights to get there. I don't know. It's sad, and there's a whole other discussion to have, which we will have once the official announcement's been made as to how much the Whitecaps have buggered up this team from start to finish. But that's for another day. But the Whitecaps did wrap up their season on Friday. 4-3 loss. They were winning until I got there after the UBC game, and then they capitulated. And
3 goals.
Yeah.
So you basically gave up your headset to Joe. They scored 3.
Yeah.
And then you showed up at WFC2. The opposition scored 3.
And UBC also won on Saturday night when I was commentating.
Yeah, I've had a great weekend. It's been at least these 5-1, 2 goals in injury time, just to stress that again. But it was a tough game. It was a good performance. It's been a tough season. Only 5 wins on the year. Finished second bottom of the West. Tough. I got a chance to speak to Rich Fagan after the game. We didn't talk about anything to do with the Fresno thing, just about the season that's been, what he's learned from it and stuff. So let's hear from Rich now. Does tonight kind of sum up kind of the season up ahead and then just not able to hold on?
Yeah, as I said to Steve Meadley, my assistant coach, I mean, that sums up our season in 90 minutes. The best and worst of us. Some great goals, some great football, like really good intention, and then just some gaffes that cost us. And unfortunately, I mean, those are mistakes that young players make, and I believe that they will learn from it and they'll move on.
The season, like, there's not been many games where you've let a lot of goals in. So many, like that big run you were on, there was a lot of games that was just 1-goal defeats.
Yep.
What was behind? Like, you just couldn't seem to get the breaks, or you just couldn't hold on or just get what it took to get at least a point out of it. What do you put that down to? Just the youngness of the group, mentality, or?
It's tough to score goals, for sure, and I think it's maybe a little bit more tough for younger players to score goals in such a senior league. And then when they're not going in, and like week in and week out, you can see them, like, as the game's going on, 70 minutes, 80 minutes, you can just see the belief kind of dropping in them a little bit. And I mean, that's been the biggest part of our job, is just keeping them encouraged and keeping them going, and it's just scoring goals is the toughest thing to do. So
now, obviously this is a development team, but the league isn't.
Right.
So how tough is it when you're going up against, like, look at Phoenix, they've got Wright Phillips, they've got Drogba.
Yep.
Going up against these guys, how hard is it to try and, like, be on a level playing field when you're fielding 5 teenagers at a time?
Well, it's not level, that's for sure, but you know what? The learning experience for the young guys it's unbelievable. Like, I'll use David Norman, for example, tonight. Like, we have a corner kick, he's sprinting to take it. There's a free kick, he's sprinting to take it. Like, 90th minute, we're down a goal, he never stops, and he runs and he runs and he runs, and that's the bare minimum. And when we go up against these teams, the Phoenix, the OCs, that's the very least we can do is run and work hard. And they've done that all season, regardless of the results, and credit to them.
What would you say is the positives then to take out of this? Because folk will just look at the league table, they'll look at the results. Is there specific players that you feel's made the breakthrough or really surprised you or really come on this year?
Well, I mean, at one point today there was 8 academy graduates on the pitch. For me, that's so encouraging, and I'm proud of that. And I think every one of them has made a step this year. They've progressed. Taryn Campbell played something like 7 minutes off the bench last season. I think he's occurred more minutes than any other player on the team this year. David Norman, who had taken a year off last season and went to school, he came back, shared some time at the beginning of the season, but he made that number 6 position his own by the end of it. So, I mean, all the young players for me have learned a great deal, and they've improved. Like you look at the result today and you think, okay, they've lost 4-3, but we didn't get bullied. Early in the season we were getting bullied. With the more time that those guys played, with the more experience that they got, we were able to stay in games longer. We were able to actually, like, at times dominate and keep good possession in the opponent's half. That wasn't happening early in the season. So for me, that's positive growth.
Just last thing then, for you, how have you found this whole experience? What have you learned, or how have you developed as a coach this year?
I've loved it. I mean, in the academy, there's really no pressure on winning. We don't really speak about it. The players want to win. They're competitive. It's part of their nature. It's part of being high-performance athletes, but you don't talk about it. It's great here in this environment, just encouraging them to want to win. Like, okay, we maybe didn't every week, but we still speak about it, and they know that they need to, and they know that they want to. And that's probably been the biggest difference is like feeling the internal pressure, not pressure from the club or from anybody like that, but that internal pressure of wanting to win and wanting the players to be successful and to get 3 points for them.
Rich Fagan there, WFC2 head coach, and I'm sad to see the team go. Really want to follow the progress of Fresno next year, so we'll be bringing you stuff on the show next year for that. We hope to maybe have Frank Gallup on the show soon as well, once everything's announced, just talking a little bit about the plans and stuff like that. But there's a few Whitecaps, 2 players did impress this year. We'll have some more articles on AFTN this week about that, what one should stay, what one should get the deal in Fresno. A lot of the guys are going to be free agents and move on, so wish all those guys well as well. It's been a little bit of a down show, I think, at times, just the nature of the game today and how that played out.
Oh, I thought you were going to blame it on Joe.
No.
Okay. No, I thought you'd brought it up.
Sunny disposition. Yeah. But I thought we'd finish with an upbeat song. And in honour of Joe, it's a band from Joe's hometown of Cork in Ireland. It's the Sultans of Ping FC. I'm wearing their t-shirt. We'll tweet this out as well as Joe in his West Brom shirt. And this is from 1993, a Cork band. A lot of football songs. They're the first band we had in Wavelength on CITR. So this is a live B-side from their Stupid Kid EP. And in fact, I won't tell you what this song is called. I'll let lead singer Niall Flaherty tell you.
I'm in love with a football hooligan. What's up? Mellow! Just like it! Well, I asked my baby, would you like to come and play? She said, no way, sugar, it's a son boy. She said, I know a place where we can have some fun. We go down to see Chelsea trying to kill some wood. And it's that treasure, I'm in love with a football hooligan. 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 Well, me and my baby like to go and see. Oh, yes we do, oh, yes we do, oh, yes we do. Down the boat here, way across the sea. And everybody's screaming for their favourite team. My baby grabs the guy out, pulls out half his blue. And I say, traitor, I'm in love with a football hooligan. I'm in love with a football hooligan. For the football hooligan. Rude, I'm in love with a football hooligan. Yes, Jimmy B's done, he's afraid of himself. For no rotting grassy yummy in the rest of the mafia. George Best May West Jack the Ripper. Pop, pop, and Bobby off the leg, let's get that. Jimmy B's done, he's afraid of himself. For no rotting grassy yummy in the rest of the mafia. George Best May West Jack the Ripper. Pop, pop, and Bobby off the leg, let's get that. I'm in love with a football hooligan. For a football hooligan. I'm in love with a football hooligan. I'm in love with a football hooligan.
Sultans of Ping FC there. I'm in love with a football hooligan.
Best part of that song, 2 minutes and 25 seconds.
I know you don't like the long ones, but Joe liked it.
It combines 2 of my favourite things, my hometown of Cork and hooliganism.
No, I didn't think the song was that bad. I thought it had a good good rhythm to it, good beat.
Great band. I saw that band so much in the 90s. Travelled around the UK to see them. I've got lots of photos of the lead singer just mostly naked with scratches on him, but that was just his style.
That's a story for another podcast.
Those will be worth quite a bit in a few years. Yeah. I would be remiss not if I didn't mention that Cork City Football Club are top of the Irish Premier Division, which we all know is the best Premier Division in the world.
It is. And the drummer of the Sultans of Ping used to do a Cork City fanzine.
Oh.
That's how I got to know him as well, and we used to chat at the gigs, and he did their merchandise, and I did my East 5 fanzine, and we chatted about that.
That might be a reason they went under a few years ago.
Yeah, possibly. But that's nearly it for the show tonight. Busy kind of weekend of football coming up. If you are in the vicinity of UBC on Friday night, get along to Thunderbird Stadium. It's their Thunderstruck night. UBC women are playing Fraser Valley, who are top of the Pacific Division. They're expecting 2,500 to 3,000 folk out for this.
Wow.
It's a big, big event. There's going to be lots of things on. Myself and Gideon will have the call on the TV as well. Well, I say TV, it's Canada West TV, but I like to think it's TV.
Yeah.
But get along to that if you
Dream
can.
big.
$10 admission. This was kind of lost because we had our missing episode that never really appeared where we made the announcement. But next year, AFTN is the official broadcasters of the U Sport Nationals. It's been held at UBC and we'll be broadcasting that. So myself, Joe, Gideon, maybe get you involved, Steve, as well.
I'll see what I can do. As long as I can remember the numbers. That's my biggest thing. Knowing the numbers and remembering who's who.
No, you just have to chip in with things like, that was crap.
Oh, okay, that's it? Okay, I'll do that then.
Repeat after Gideon. That's what
Yeah. I've got a really good song by Goldie Lucan Chain. It's all about Andy Townsend and his way that he commentates over in the UK. So I'll wait till Anna's on the show next and I'll bring Goldie Lucan Chain back.
Maybe I can go with Corey and we can talk wrestling the whole time.
Yeah.
I get Corey on.
Because Corey's going to be part of our team as well. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with Corey.
He doesn't know it yet, but... Anyway, that is it for this week's episode of the show. Just before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
And you can find me at Cheesy Deasy, cheesy with a Z.
Underscore Deasy.
Underscore Deasy.
Don't forget the underscore. Yeah. And you can find Zach on Twitter at ZacharyAM. Zach is part of the Movement Curva Collective, and you can give them a follow on Twitter at Curva Collective and on Instagram as well. You can give me a follow on Twitter at AFTN Canada. We're on Instagram at AFTN Soccer. Really need to give all you guys access to that so that you younger technological people can do stuff with it.
Well, Twatface is just minutes away.
Yeah,
so
we're also on Twatface at AFTN as well. Google that, you'll find us on Twatface. It might just come up with a picture of Caleb Porter, but that is for our t-shirts. And yeah, read all our stuff, aftn.ca online, away from the numbers. We'll be back next Sunday. I'm not sure who with, because I may or may not go down to Portland. Might just take a call at the last minute. But Steve, you'll definitely be here.
I should be here, yes. And we'll talk about whatever happens.
We'll talk about us finishing third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, it'll be a show.
It will be. And until then, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the Caps.
One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.